I just arrived in the only capital city in the world divided between two countries. And it's a country that belongs to four territories. By the way, one of those territories doesn't belong to anyone.
50 years ago, the UN came here to try to guarantee peace, but a war could break out at any moment. Welcome to the contradictory island of Cyprus.
I took a bus that cost me 5 euros to get here. I was at the beach in a city called Ayanapa. The country, despite all the war, is very beautiful. But the scars and the conflicts, they never stopped. And what I'm going to show you in this series on the channel is much more than just a country or a nation, but rather a territory where people still haven't been able to be 100% free.
The youth didn't see war. They're like that, how can I say? They go to the upper village. But we went through fear, war, and hunger. We went through so much.
In the Kasaya, the atmosphere remains heavy and tense.
And to get to the capital of Cyprus, where I am now, by the way, the only capital that isn't just in one country, but actually in two countries, I took a bus, and during the trip I became quite reflective. I was observing the roads, the people, and started reflecting on everything I had studied about this island, about this nation,
About these people.
who to this day can't reach an agreement. And with every kilometer the bus traveled, and the closer I got to the capital, Nicosia, I kept thinking about what was waiting for me. What will this adventure be like? Will I be able to meet people, talk to locals, understand a little about what it's like to live in a country divided in half in the 21st century? Well, we're about to find out.
It's hard to understand how far human ambition and power can go when it's in our hands. But I think Cyprus is a very clear example of what can happen when the importance of nationalism becomes greater than the importance of life itself. My hotel is 5 minutes from the bus station and that main square. And this 5-minute walk has already brought me a lot of thoughts and insights. Watching people here in Cyprus, watching people, the stores, the balconies, the houses. I'm really excited to show this country to you. It's nice. People are very friendly here. In the short time since I arrived in the country, I felt people were I found my accommodation. People are very welcoming, you know. This is going to be my little house for the first night in Cyprus. And right here, at this point in the capital where I am, we can see the perfect division of the city. Look over there. Here we can see the flag of Greece. And over there, the flag of Turkey and the flag of the Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is a country that only Turkey recognizes and supports. Well, now let's check out our little house here in Cyprus. I'm going to stay at this hotel here, Kypros accommodation. I don't know if this is an antique shop or a hotel. I think this is the hotel reception. Javi, hello. Hi, how are you? Yes.
This is Javi. Javi will be my guide for the next few days, through both countries, in the south of Cyprus and in the north.
So, see you later. I try to relax in my room. I think this is much nicer. Thank you. I found it here. Look, let me show you my little room. Wow, it's extremely spacious. Look, we have a chair here, a double bed, and a bathroom. Who needs a shower stall, right? Just like a bathroom. Bring the squeegee. You think this is a Marriott hotel, man? Look at that. Let me get ready because in an hour we'll meet to cross the border. Let's go. I already put on my sweatshirt because after the sun goes down here, it gets pretty chilly. Pretty chilly, like 15-12 degrees. We're going to cross the border soon. Oh my god, I have waited so long for this moment, right? I researched a lot about Cyprus before coming here. Now let me go get ready to cross this border. That's exactly where we are going. It's been an hour since I made that video for you guys. Then as soon as the sun set, look how much it's already changed. Here is the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and on this side, we're in the European Union in Greece. Guys, we're going there now. The border is literally a few meters from the hotel. Here we always see pieces of wall with messages. We're in the middle of the city and there's a wall. I'm sorting everything out. Let me see if there's a soldier standing right here. And behind these walls, behind these houses, it's no longer Cyprus, it's occupied territory. We're here, it's right here. We have an officer over there. They're literally going to cross a border. Because they say it's not a border, but of course it's a border, right? You're here stopping people and you have border control. There are a lot of kittens. Look at the kitten, how cute. Thank you. They just look at the passport and don't stamp anything. I used my Brazilian passport to cross here. It was pretty smooth. Just a reminder that this area we're in right now is a zone controlled by the UN. Now we have to check in with the other country. See? See? Here we're crossing something else entirely. Thank you. And then guys, you cross over, there's already an ATM here. It's kind of like the Berlin Wall, you know? It's really strange to think that after what the world went through with Berlin, we keep repeating this. That's right, we're crossing the border here. And now we are officially in a country that doesn't exist. Estevam, how can it not exist if you're in it? Well, it may exist physically, but it doesn't exist as a country. And that happened for a reason.
The island of Cyprus has always been a highly coveted island. That's because it's located between Europe, the Middle East and North Africa. So it's a super strategic place for any country. But unlike what you might imagine, not long ago Cyprus wasn't a place of war or conflict. Actually, when the Ottomans arrived here, they found Orthodox Greeks and Muslim Turks living in perfect harmony. There were no wars, there were no ethnic or religious conflicts. But after about 600 years of the Turkish Empire ruling here, the British arrived in Cyprus. And that's when, in fact, the whole story would begin. First, you have to know that for the United Kingdom, which had just opened the Suez Canal in 1878, controlling an island next to Egypt was simply extremely important. After all, it was the route that connected England to its main colonies, and it also charged other nations for crossings. However, at the beginning of the 20th century, Greece began a nationalist movement to recover some lands that used to belong to it, including Cyprus. After all, for them, since 80% of the country spoke Greek, it made perfect sense to include Cyprus in a movement that would become known as Enosis. It would culminate in one of the biggest upheavals this island has ever seen. In the 1950s, the Cypriots, who could no longer stand British rule, and then fighting and rebellions broke out in the push for an independent country. Many Cypriots supported the Enosis movement that I mentioned to you, but many others did not. And the big issue is that 20% of the island was made up of a minority who were afraid of joining Greece and losing their identity. After all, since 80% of the population identified as Greek Cypriots and spoke the Greek language, those 20% who were Turkish Cypriots could end up having even less of a voice. And this is where we pause to understand one thing. There were never two countries. Until the date I'm about to mention, Cyprus was a single nation with two languages, two main religions, and people living happily and respecting each other. But today, Cyprus is no longer like that, and as soon as you cross the border, you notice it immediately.
This place is insanely different. You cross the border and everything is written in Turkish. Turkish sweets, Turkish trinkets, Turkish shops, Turkish bazaars. Everything is literally like an extension of Turkey, which makes it very clear that when the Turks came here, the idea wasn't to highlight the culture of the Turkish Cypriots, but to create a base here, an extension of Turkey itself. This is the minaret we see from the hotel balcony, and as incredible as it may seem, right? Even though we're right next to a UN demilitarized zone, the place is very peaceful. It's peaceful. Today's a Wednesday night. There are some restaurants and bars open, and there are plenty of ATMs here too. Here, the currency is different, so I'll have to withdraw Turkish lira, since that's what they use here, the money from Turkey. You can use contactless withdrawal. It's actually pretty high tech. Let me use it here. Guys, this kinder egg here with all the enhancers, anabolic stuff, hormones, the kids here in Turkish Cyprus are doing just fine. It's chill here. You can drink on the street too. They have a bunch of drink machines. And I bet you the money here. I'll show you guys. These are Turkish lira. Today, at the current rate, 1 real buys 6 Turkish lira. So today, 200 lira is about 30 something reais. This is the same currency, the exact same currency used in Turkey. Let's take a look here. Who's showing up here? Who is it? I don't know who it is. You can find all that out too. We arrived here at a very Turkish place with a Turkish sweets vendor. I might have dinner here at this kebab house. Yeah, let me show you a bit of the prices here for you guys. Look, everything is in Turkish lira, right? So for a plate like this, 500 Turkish lira, more or less. Wow, that's expensive. Divide by 6. Wow, divide by 6. What's that, guys? Are you in Sao Paulo? 80 reais for the plate. That's it. What about beer? The beer here is really local. 100. How much is 100? Put it on the screen, okay, Thais? 15 reais. That's about it. I thought it would be cheaper. They use this here to heat up faster. They put the charcoal inside.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Cheers.
And so, between toasts, Turkish cheeses, street cats, borders, and a lot of division, my experience here in Cyprus was beginning. And the same question that has followed me since I left Brazil.
Why? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is the most special day of the year for the Republic of Northern Cyprus. It's their Independence Day. So there's even going to be a parade. And we're going to see it. Look, people here are having a little lunch over there. Look, it would be something like the Berlin Wall, the day we cross here into the territory occupied by Turkey.
It's crazy to think that to eat at a restaurant, visit a church, or meet a friend in your own city, you'd have to cross a border and go through border control.
And that's what
I did to have breakfast today.
I love that here in Turkey, they always give you a little water, right? You'll see when you fly with Turkish Airlines, right? In economy, they give you this little water in several restaurants and stores. They give you this little water here too, look. For breakfast, I ordered this omelette. In Turkey, they love this here, look. Do you want to eat a little fly? What do they love? Little tomatoes, just like we have here. Can you guess what I love? Ah, this morning oil is delicious. Starting this adventure through this country that isn't really a country. Estevam, are you going to say that the whole video? Several times. As soon as we arrive here in this northern Cypriot part, we see a strong Ottoman influence. The Ottomans arrived here in 1571 and stayed until the end of the 19th century. So we see this strong influence in the buildings. And here it was even used as a bazaar, shops, and later even as a prison. And today it's home to cafes and restaurants. But since we're here during their main national holiday, we'll see that everything is closed and businesses will only open much later, if they open at all. Because today is the official Independence Day of the country, which isn't actually independent. But it wasn't just the Ottomans who had influence here in the region. The people from Venice had already come and fought over the island of Cyprus. This brings a great architectural mix to the city. Look, the houses, for example, are in the Venetian style. Here we have this Ottoman green, which is considered the secret green. And still on the same block, you can see English architecture. And that's also one of the things that makes it so hard to define the identity here in Cyprus, especially in the Republic of Northern Cyprus. The famous Greek eye amulets, which are actually considered Turkish, right? They say this amulet isn't from Greece, but from Turkey. And look how their flag is practically the same as the flag of Turkey. They switch the colors of the star and the moon and add these two stripes. This really caught my attention. An LGBT flag here in the Turkish part. Could it be that they're starting to become a bit more accepting? And then there are several borders. Look, this is a border, but you can't cross here. The soldier even asked us to stop filming. We were filming because officially there are only 9 border crossings here that you can use to go from one side to the other in the same country. Crazy thing, right? And if you try to jump, for sure you'll be arrested, detained, and you go to trial, right? You go to court. Back here is the Greek zone, here is the Turkish zone, and in the middle is Mario with more than 100 UN soldiers trying to keep the peace. Whenever you see this here, it's usually because there's this guard and it's a restricted area. People have been here for so long, living their lives, smoking, shops open, life going on. This area here, on the other hand, is really cool. It has a lot of graffiti, some little bars, some small shops, and then we arrive at a big market. This big market here in the northern part of Nicosia. The British built this here in 7 years. And they say that here you can find the freshest fruits, the best things you'll find around here. Bye. Just imagine living here, waking up one day to find a wall and barbed wire and not being able to see your family, your friends, simply because you can't cross. You have to leave, abandon your home, abandon your things. Many people still can't live here on the Turkish side. Many Greeks had to leave, had their homes taken by the Turkish invasion, and never returned. The owner of the hotel where I'm staying, on the Greek side, he's Cypriot, and he talked to me off camera on the day I arrived. And he told me that it's tragic that he saw his mother and father die without ever being able to return to the house they had bought, which was right here in the Turkish region. Since they put up this wall, since they made this big division, not only was a territorial division created, but also a division of families, a division of friends, and above all, a division of dreams, of people who had built dreams, who had built a life on this side and had to run away, leave in a hurry, never to be able to return. You can see British influence everywhere.
The British Crown. There's no way we can talk about the division of Cyprus without talking about the British. After decades of ruling the island of Cyprus, the British began to conduct a kind of population survey. Something that until then, no one had an exact idea of how many people belonged to each religion or how many people spoke certain languages. But the British decided to catalog all of that. And that, dear traveler, would be the beginning of the end. Because until then, the island of Cyprus was just a country. However, the situation started to get out of control, and the people who were once united then began to fight among themselves. The British still kept their bases here and allowed Greeks and Turks to intervene in politics when necessary, which in the future would leave a lot, really a lot of room for interpretation. And in fact, it would be the matchstick that would ignite the eternal Cypriot fire.
A lot of diversity, right? A lot of influences. In fact, it's a very multicultural place. At the same time, we see that Turkey is definitely the one in charge here. Thanks. Guys, there are so many cats here that they even have a souvenir bag. Look. All the cats of Cyprus. Cyprus. Carob, right. It's widely used around the Mediterranean to make syrup, soup, tea, and all kinds of things. It's very typical. That's why they say it's very healthy. They have a lot of good things here, right? Pomegranate too, to bring luck, wealth, and health in the new year. Now let's move on because the Independence Parade is about to start.
Independence. According to the dictionary, the word independence means the state of being free. Financial, emotional, and spiritual independence. Many say that it is the opposite of the word dependence and a synonym for freedom.
In 1983, just over 30 years ago, The Turks declare the independence of this country. The Turks secularize themselves. Turkey said from today, the Republic of Northern Cyprus is a country. But who recognizes this country along with them? Actually, Pakistan and Bangladesh also recognized this as independent, but soon after they withdrew their support because of international pressure. Because the entire international community was saying, there's no way you can support this place. So to this day, only the government of Turkey recognizes this as an independent country, which in practice makes it not a country. The struggle for power, pride and ego is such a crazy thing in the world. The Venetians came here in the 15th century. They stayed for 87 years until the Ottomans took over the island. And at that time they put this statue here. But the statue was knocked down by the Ottomans, and later the British put it back. And we'll see that it wasn't just this one that suffered sanctions. We are going to visit several churches in the Turkish part that were shut down and left to be abandoned so that Christianity would not exist here. And notice that we always see the flag of Northern Cyprus alongside the Turkish flag, and we see the Turkish post office. It's like we have two cities in one. Because this capital is in two countries, so each side divided by the wall will have its own post office, its own city hall, its own Supreme Court. At first glance, the car's license plate even looks like it's from the European Union, but it's not. It's a license plate that doesn't exist. Look, behind the place that looks kind of bombed out with graffiti, we see a lot of young people having fun, living their lives. Have you ever thought how awesome it would be if the world wasn't as divided as it is? We are arriving at the area where their version of Independence Day is going to take place. It's a very special day, very serious. You have to respect it. Even though the country is only independent to them, right? It doesn't actually exist. For them, it's something serious that exists. You have to respect it. A lot of police, right? A lot of police here. It's funny to see that their flag is never alone. It's alternated. Their flag alongside Turkey's, always. This is the president here of the Republic of Northern Cyprus. See, I have no idea what he's talking about because their official language here is Turkish. And you, like me,
Maybe you don't understand anything either. What do you mean? Wasn't the country officially independent? And wasn't the Republic of Cyprus proclaimed in 1960? Yes, traveler, that really happened. Cyprus finally officially emerged as a country in the 1960s. And for 3 years, all the people would live happily, full of excitement. Finally, they would be recognized by the world as one. But overnight, quickly the country began to divide. Then separatist centers started to emerge, creating places where only Turkish Cypriots would gather, redrawing the map of the island. And the Greeks also began to impose sanctions on the Turkish Cypriots, hoping that the Northern Cypriots would give in. And from the late 1960s until 1974, after the Vietnam War, that was one of the golden ages of tourism in the country. While economically, this sector was thriving, there was a lack of shared values. Unity and cooperation among the people were missing. You remember that, traveler. When I said that in the constitution signed by the British, both Greeks and Turks could intervene in the country, if necessary to maintain peace, that's right. In 1974, the Greeks broke this agreement, and out of nowhere, they tried to carry out what would literally be a coup. You could say that, especially because Greece was under a dictatorship during that period. And this seems to have been orchestrated overnight by the Greeks, who were eager to take Cyprus for themselves. But then, you also remember that the Turks, they could enter the country at any moment to restore peace with the approval of the British and the international community. 5 days later, they were already here. But they didn't just arrive any old way. The Turks entered Cyprus by opening fire, and they did a lot. But much more than just restoring peace and many countries were on Turkey's side and angry with Greece, supporting this action. But they had no idea what was coming. This is where the Turks went north, and this is where the Greeks went south. The Turks were sure they were right. After all, if Greece had attacked first, they felt they had a blank check to enter the country. The problem is that the Turks went much further to make sure they would dominate the region. Turkey made announcements on radio and in newspapers so that citizens from mainland Turkey would go to occupy the island, promising animals, land, a prosperous life. And with that, more than 30,000 Turks left Turkey to go to northern Cyprus. But basically, the houses that were offered were Greek houses whose owners had to flee, and the old Greek cities, streets and alleys were all renamed with Turkish names in an attempt to establish the Republic of Northern Cyprus. This made the Turkish Cypriots see Turkey as a great mother, a great heroine. Turkey knew that it would be very advantageous for it to occupy this island. Besides, of course, helping several people who shared the country's linguistic, cultural and ethnic background. And we still need to add to this the fact that a lot of oil and gas had been discovered in this region. On the other hand, the Greeks felt wronged, with Turkey forcing them to leave their homes and disappear from the north of the country overnight. The Turks confiscated everything that belonged to the Greek Cypriots, expelling them from the north of the country, making it so that even today they can't reclaim what's rightfully theirs. And when the Turkish soldiers invaded, even children were overjoyed, thinking they were here to save them, that they were the only hope. And how can we judge a child? How can we judge a country that isn't even ours? If you imagine that these people for so long were an oppressed minority here on the island, it makes sense. It makes sense for us to think about how Turkey's support, in a way, it made them very happy and gave them a certain sense of security. That's why many Turkish Cypriots called this moment the Turkish Peace Operation, or Turkey's peace operation. And that's how, more than 3 decades ago, the TRNC emerged, which is nothing more than a large extension of Turkey, consolidated on the island of Cyprus. That's so true that only Turkey recognizes this place as a country. Just so you understand, there is no commercial exchange. No trade is done with the region of northern Cyprus. Everything, absolutely everything that arrives here has to go through mainland Turkey, just like the only airport here only receives flights to and from Turkey. No diploma from a local college is recognized anywhere else in the world, except if it has international approval. But remember, everything has two sides. Turkey protected a minority that for decades was being massacred, and maybe that made them so vulnerable. But the conflict was so intense that the UN had to create a demilitarized zone, turning Cyprus into the most militarized country per capita on the planet. And if that reminds you of North Korea, it's no coincidence. This was the same move carried out in the DMZ. That separates the Koreas to this day.
You see that on this side, everyone is all formal. These are the officials. Back there, they come to clear the people out. Please.
People gather.
They come, they cheer, they have it. The government does this exactly to encourage their nationalism to become stronger and stronger. So that, in a way, they never want to official be independent from Turkey. We have to hurry up with this, right? Tell me if you don't remember Chiri Rolando, the press people and journalists crossing, only those authorized. Thank you. Thank you. With this, they like to make it very clear that Turkey is present, ready to defend the country. You can rest assured that even if people say a lot about them, the government is here to protect them. These most applauded gentlemen are those who are in the reserves but who fought for the country's independence. This transgenerational process that happens in republics and countries is something intentional to stir more emotion among the people. The people feel safer. This doesn't happen only here, but it's something that goes on all over the world. Even women are joining now. I remember when I was a child, when I was a scout, I used to march on September 7th. It was just sunny boy. There em Sério, there em Campinas. I don't know what's written, but Ataturk is considered Turkey's great national hero and also a hero to northern Cypriots. Now I wanted to know from you, what do you think about a child, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, dressed as a soldier? Would that be something to be proud of? Or a cause for concern? I want to hear from you. If I say nothing, they bring up internationalism here, which I want to understand why, since no country recognizes this country. No, these are countries that are partners with Turkey, but they also don't recognize Northern Cyprus. And here we have the UN flag coming in, which is that blue flag with the world in the middle, flag of the UK, of the United Kingdom, and we also have the flag of Nigeria and the partner countries. Yeah, here we have Kazakhstan, Sibakistan, Paya. How nice. I know that a lot of people are very happy and proud to be parading. Not that they shouldn't be, but many have to, right? A lot of them probably don't even want to. At least that's what I wanted to say. Of course, the ones they love the most are the soldiers. My god, that's a lot of people actually. Look there, on the cover. All those little heads, see?
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, is that a statue or is it like a sniper watching to see if someone is going to do something crazy? Look, they don't always go for the blue beetle, but they're always looking for the blue beetle. Good job, guys. It's over. The president is there. Let's go. The crowd enjoyed it. It was cool. It was an experience. This is a really important game, right? The four of them have been standing here for a long time, Rez. Can someone move this car forward so they can salute? Thank you. From 63 to 74. He started in 63. Yes. Wow, they are the veterans who really fought in the war. There they are, everyone, taking pictures with them. Remember, it's the kind of thing, battles that we don't always choose to fight. Sometimes you're just living your life. The war happens and you have to go. And there are people who went to defend their side.
I already did my 12-month service when I finished school. But it was really a traumatic 1 year for me, where I really developed my ideology on conscientious objection, where I really understood why I don't like to be part of the army. I wouldn't be part of a system whose very existence is based on discrimination and hate.
Miles desire for peace is not for us. There is hostility. Because it's not me, they would have killed my child, or they did kill them. They killed my father, or they killed someone else. If there is a raw reason, it can happen. They are separate, we are separate. I guess they will go to court. We will do it by putting them in prison. They will put them in. We don't know what they will do. This would happen against the government. Then everyone would do their military service. That applies to everyone. And age.
This year is also very special because they are celebrating their 50th anniversary. I don't know what to do with this flag. They gave it to me and I wasn't going to give it back or throw it away. So here we are, respecting it and holding it, not really knowing how to handle this flag. It's been 50 years since the official division, the emergence of the Republic, and 41 years since it became an independent country officially recognized by Turkey. It's worth remembering that everyone born here with a Northern Cypriot passport can't go anywhere, only to Turkey, because no other country recognizes it. Their passports, their documents, not even their diplomas. If they study here, unfortunately, they can't work anywhere else. That was really valuable having such a unique experience. And let's keep going. I want to understand a little more about this country here. We are going now to the northern part, to show you Kyrenia. And this will be my little home for the next 2 nights, right in front of the sea. Wow, look at this hotel, huh? In front of the sea, well, sort of, right? The sea is over there, right? They're not wrong, but the real view is this one right here. This is the actual view from the hotel. And we've arrived in the beautiful city of Kyrenia. Look how cute it is. The fair settlements here on the island of Cyprus started in cities like this, which were on the coast. This one is right in the north, see? Take a look at the map. Right in the north of Cyprus, very close to Turkey. And there are the Ottomans, right? Many Turks came here and ended up becoming Turkish Cypriots. Look, up here it's much better. Look at this. Isn't it wonderful? Look, my halloumi cheese just arrived. This cheese is much loved in Turkey, Greece, and also here in this region of Cyprus. It's called halloumi. You order it, eat it, and thank me later, okay? And for the main dish, a little tuna salad. Because I'm keeping it light, alright, guys? Guys, look at the planes flying by here. They're fighter jets. There was a lot to see. There was a lot to see. Guys, this is a mess here. The city is small, but there's so much traffic. I've never seen anything like this here. And the city has around 20 to 30,000 inhabitants. It's a very historic city. I'm going to walk a bit around downtown and show you. It's located in the part dominated by Turkey, the northern part of the island. And Kyrenia is very famous for this castle here, which was the city when it started. It functioned as a fortress. So there were fortifications like in many classic cities here in Europe. And the nicest thing about Kyrenia today is walking along the little port, which is what we are going to do now. We are heading there now, look, in this direction where the fighter jet show was happening. Now come on. And it's crazy to think how this city seems like a peaceful and happy tourist destination. But many Greek Cypriots, even today, can't go back to their homes that are here in this region. Meanwhile, the whole city and region were celebrating. Well, as a good traveler, I'll just observe and be respectful. For this really tasty little coffee here. Look at my cup, it's so cool. Because it's just a little bit of night around here, the little cubes, just like vacation. Look at this bar we found. It's a cool place. Behind me, you can see a helicopter that, along with this big ship here in Kyrenia, helped the Turks to retake or invade part of the island. Because the Turkish Cypriots were already exhausted from being dominated and treated as a minority by the Greeks, who wanted to control the whole region of Cyprus. You always see the two flags together, and they say that this helicopter was one of those responsible for helping in this fight, in this battle for the people's liberation. And after the agreement signed in England in 1960, which guaranteed Cyprus's independence, for 3 years, Turkish and Greek Cypriots lived in peace and harmony. But unfortunately, that didn't last very long. Because soon after, the Greeks started a movement to incorporate Cyprus into Greek territory. The idea was to reclaim the island of Cyprus so that it would be 100% owned by the Greeks. So many Turkish Cypriots were expelled from their regions. Many went to live in Canada, Australia, and other countries, and they began to leave the island. And it was only in 1974 that Turkey decided to come into the country to restore peace. But the big problem was that neither Greeks nor Turks should enter Cyprus without any real need. After all, that was the agreement signed so that the country could be independent. When England decided to leave here, they said to Greece and Turkey, "Here's the deal, I'm going to leave you here, but look, no trouble." This situation lasted 3 years. Soon after, the Greeks tried to take over and pull off a big coup. The Turks came in full force, and this was one of the main vehicles that had the Turks in this battle. The Turks literally invaded northern Cyprus and they never left. Coming here onto the ship, it's funny because the ship was completely restored. Today it functions as a museum. And for the Turkish Cypriots, it's a great source of pride. They come, take pictures, post videos. For them, it was a great liberation. And then and it's really crazy how we always have to hear the story from both sides. Inside this museum and in the places we go through, we see how the Turkish Cypriots really tell the story only from the Turkish Cypriot perspective. This really reminds me of what we experienced in North Korea, that intense propaganda style, cinematic music playing inside. When we were inside the museum, I started saying things too. And the Turkish Cypriot asked me to delete it when he saw that I mentioned Atatürk's name. Atatürk is the one responsible for liberating Turkey. When I mentioned his name, he came over and deleted the video I was making. You see how censorship works, guys. He forbade me from saying anything. He said, you have to get authorization to say anything on video about our history, about our country. So their government has to authorize the story you're going to tell. Nothing is spontaneous. Now it's raining. Let me run over here. There's still a lot I want to show you all. So, they say that in the war, 498 soldiers were killed by the Greeks. And we can see the photo of each soldier buried facing Mecca. Because the Republic of Northern Cyprus is Muslim, although it's not as intense, like the kind of Islam we see in other countries, there weren't many soldiers in Northern Cyprus. That's why, if Turkey hadn't come in here, quite possibly Cyprus would have been annexed by Greece. And many of the Northern Cypriots would have left, or maybe died. It's a really complicated story to tell. I think that in fact, in no war is there really a winner. Everyone who takes part, whether they chose to join or chose to start it, ends up losing. Don't you think so? As I record this video, it's been 50 years since this conflict began. This dispute that just won't end. And it leaves me wondering about a country that so badly wants to be independent, so badly wants to be recognized. If maybe it offered more freedom of opinion, if it offered people a little more democracy, if that wouldn't help the world see it as a fairer, more sovereign country. And after the Turkish invasion here on the island, which decimated the Greek Cypriots, many houses and cities were abandoned. And a ghost Cyprus began to emerge. Parts of the city that to this day are ruins, and absolutely no one can live there. And that's what we are going to visit in the next episode of the series. But before we finish, I wanted to hear from you. Every story has two sides. It's always very important for us to listen. Actually, I had a teacher who always said that every story has three sides: mine, yours, and what really happened. And there's the question of whether the Turkish Cypriot should be proud and seek independence, or if the island should fight to be united as one. See you, travelers. I'll see you in the next video.